Is it time for reckless optimism with this Blue Jackets team? Well, only maybe. We're going to talk about that on today's Locked on Blue Jackets.
You're Locked on Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Blue Jackets, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get things started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, over on YouTube and on SiriusXM. I also have to let you know this episode is brought to you by Indeed. Still searching for a great candidate for your company? Don't search, match with Indeed. And the Blue Jackets searched, and they matched, and they won 3 games in a row. That's not my best segue ever, but hey, we're gonna go with it. Somehow, the Blue Jackets escaped last night's game with 2 points. I still don't like the Blue Jackets had no business winning this game, and I kind of talked about this a little bit after I was talking to my one Carolina Hurricanes friend about this, and I was like, they had no business winning this game. She was like, the Hurricanes had no business losing this game, but here we are. 3 wins in a row for the first time since March 2022. So it's been almost 3 years. They didn't win 3 in a row all of last season, or the season before that, which is wild. Like, I keep going back to that thought of like, I spent so much time last season of they'd win 2 games in a row and be like, can they make it 3? And then they would lose 3 games in a row instead. But Blue Jackets, 3 wins in a row. They are making up for their like miserable start to November. And they have put together a nice little win streak. So I want to talk about the win streak. I want to talk about who's doing well. I want to talk about last night's game. Should we start being recklessly optimistic about this team making the playoffs? And I also want to talk a little bit about Sean Monahan because he continues to impress. As someone who was like cautiously optimistic about this signing, it's looking real good so far. So I want to talk about all of that. So let's get into it. First off, I want to just kind of recap the November. The Blue Jackets started off with losing 6 games in a row in November. They have since won 4 of their last 5. So they are up to 4-7 in November, which is not great. But when you realize that it was the 14th of November and we like hadn't had a win in that month yet, it's looking a lot more promising, and especially when you look at the teams that they've beat. Like, okay, the Penguins are spiraling. Boston, no one knows what Boston is, but they just beat the Lightning. They just beat the Carolina Hurricanes, who are the best team in the Eastern Conference. There's some optimism building here, and I don't know that I'm ready to be like, what did I say, recklessly optimistic yet, but someone's going to make the playoffs. Why not the Blue Jackets? Like, they are, I think, 2 points out of a wild card spot right now, and I think they have a game in hand over whoever is currently in that wild card spot. Let's pull up the standings. So currently, the Blue Jackets are 3 points out of a wild card spot. They're on 20 points on the season, a 9-9-2 record. Currently, the wild card spot is held. The second wild card spot, that is held by the Boston Bruins, who have 2 games in hand over the Blue Jackets and are 3 points ahead of them. Between them, Tampa Bay Lightning is sitting at 22 points with 19 games played, so they actually have a game in hand over the Blue Jackets. And then the New York Islanders are 1 point ahead of the Blue Jackets with 1 game in hand also. So, like, it's not like the Blue Jackets are going to waltz into that wild card spot. And also, it's November 24th, so like, I don't know that we should necessarily be like sounding the playoff alarm yet, but I do believe they are currently holding tied for the longest win streak. Oh no, that's a lie. The Calgary Flames have won 4 in a row, and they're coming to town next week, so that'll be a fun one. But this Blue Jackets team is looking, and again, I've said this kind of all season long, even when the team is losing, this team looks better than last season. This team is probably overachieving a little bit. I think the roster is weaker than last year, especially up front, which we've talked about that, but they keep finding ways to win. They find ways to lose as well. We think back to that 6-game losing streak where they lost big, they lost close, they lost games they played well, they lost games they played badly. Like, they found fun and interesting ways to lose, but they're also finding fun and interesting ways to win, because again, they had no business beating. They really had no business beating the Lightning. Like, that game was insane. That game was drunk. But they also had no business beating the Carolina Hurricanes in a more concrete way. Like, they got out attempted, they got outshot, they got out Corsied. It was a game that the Hurricanes should have won easily and didn't. I want to give a shout out to just in terms of players, Elvis Merzlikins recovered from the Tampa Bay game. He wasn't great. Was it 4 goals on 36 shots for an 889 save percentage? But that is way better than his 800 save percentage that he rocked against Tampa. His season so far, he's sitting on an 894. He's really hovering around that 890 to 910, and he keeps flip-flopping between those two extremes. So would love, again, a little bit of consistency. He is winning. He has got 4 wins in a row, and I guess it doesn't matter if you give up 6 if the other team gives up 7. It doesn't matter if you give up 4 if the other team gives up 5. I will say that, not credit where it's due. That feels like a weird way to put this, but in terms of contextualizing it, Pyotr Kochetkov, who was very good in the game, got taken out by friendly fire. With 2 minutes left in overtime, Spencer Martin came in, made I think 2 saves, didn't allow a goal, allowed 1 goal in the shootout. Only 1 of 6 shooters scored in the entire shootout. So, Spencer Martin did everything he could. So it's not even and I think there would have been a lot of talk of if Spencer Martin had immediately allowed the game-winning goal 3 seconds after being put in the game, I think probably there would be a lot of, well, the Blue Jackets only won this game because Kochetkov left in injury. But I think Spencer Martin, quite frankly, did everything he could. He I think Damon Severson missed the net. Adam Fantilli was a save. And then it says on NHL.com that Sean Monahan was the first shooter, but I feel like it was Kirill Marchenko. Maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm misremembering that. But Kirill Marchenko, only guy to score in the shootout. So I think there's a lot of credit to be given to Spencer Martin, who came into a very difficult situation and did the best that he could. However, the Blue Jackets, they got that 1 goal that they needed, and genuinely, I wouldn't have been mad if they'd lost this game. I don't think. I would have been frustrated. Sure, I would have been annoyed, but the way that I always am when a team that I like loses. But if the Blue Jackets had lost, say it was 4-3, and then Marchenko tied it up with a minute left. If this team had lost 4-3 against the Carolina Hurricanes, I'd have been like, you know what, sucks, but it's fair. Again, Carolina Hurricanes, best team in the Eastern Conference. There's an argument that they might be the best team in the league. They are it's gonna be, the Jets are the best team in the league, but you could argue that it's the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have played 20 games and they've lost 6. This is the first time that they've lost in overtime. They've got a plus 27 goal differential. They've allowed only 51 goals in 20 games. So this is a really, really good team that I was okay, what I want from this game is I want the Blue Jackets to keep up. I want them to hang with the Hurricanes, but if they lose, they lose, and they won somehow. Again, Marchenko continues to be a rock star. I did enjoy Jody Shelley. By the way, calling him, he called him a veteran player, in the play-by-play last night in the color commentary, which did make me laugh because this is what his like third season in the league, maybe his fourth season in the league, at the absolute maximum. So I did enjoy that he's like a veteran player now, according to Jody Shelley. But like Kromachenko continues to impress. 2 goals tonight, plus the game winner. He, I believe, has retaken the lead in scoring for the Blue Jackets. He's tied. Okay, so he's got 8 goals, 12 assists, and then Sean Monahan also got an assist last night. Zach Werenski also got an assist last night. So Kromachenko, Sean Monahan, and Zach Werenski are leading the way for scoring with this team. I do like that it's 8 goals, 12 assists, 7 goals, 13 assists, 6 goals, 14 assists. But again, like I said, they continue to impress. Kromachenko leading the way in scoring. Like, I'm gonna knock on wood here, but like that feels like a 30-goal season incoming to me. I'm sure Elite Prospect has it something stupid like, oh yeah, he's on pace for 54 goals or something insane. But it's gonna be very funny if he keeps this pace up. I do hate that he was born in the year 2000. That's an aside. He's on pace. Okay, he's on pace for a 33-goal season right now. I would be more than happy with that. And same thing with Monahan. He's a point a game. He hasn't been a point a game since like 2018-19. We're going to talk about Sean Monahan in a little bit more detail later on. Zach Werenski is again on pace for like a 30-goal season, which is just truly bonkers. You love to see it. Going to take a quick break, and then I want to talk a little bit about what this means for this team. Is this team a playoff team? What do they need to do to kind of keep on keeping on, basically? So we're going to talk about that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about Prize Picks. What is Prize Picks? Well, it is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everyone. You just pick more or less on at least 2 plays for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. So you can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. It's the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first period and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. And they've invented the flex play, which means that even if your lineup isn't perfect, you can still cash out. You double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And they put their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. You don't have to wait around for it to deposit. And they offer Venmo as well now, so it gets even quicker, which I love. Sign up today, get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the app, use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Once again, that is code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We've talked about how much fun last night was, how the Blue Jackets had no business winning. But I want to talk a little bit more kind of about the Blue Jackets as a whole and like how sustainable this feels like. And I've kind of been keeping an eye on like not underlying stats, but like team stats. So like power play, penalty kill, shots on goal, like things like that. Like just goals in general. And like the Blue Jackets are, again, they are, I think, 21st in the league right now in points. That might change if you sort by points percentage. Actually, I'm going to figure that out now. The Winnipeg Jets are just, again, insane. 21 games and they've lost 4 of them. Stupid. The Blue Jackets are, okay, they're tied at like 19th in the league on points percentage. There's 3 other teams that are sitting at 500 right now. But the Blue Jackets are, I believe, what did I say, 2 points out of a playoff spot with like a lot of season left to play, but they have games in hand over most of the teams that are ahead of them in that playoff race. So I'm feeling Am I feeling recklessly optimistic? Maybe, but I'm definitely feeling optimistic. I just don't know if I'm cautious or reckless yet. They've climbed back up to 8th in the league in goals for per game. They're still shooting the lights out. There's only 3 teams that shoot more in a game than them on average. Carolina is one of them, actually. So again, the fact that the Blue Jackets kind of hung with the Carolina Hurricanes is really impressive. They are shooting an average of just over 32 shots a game. The only team shooting more are the Ottawa Senators, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Carolina Hurricanes. They are allowing 29 shots a game. So basically, they're out shooting their opponents 32 to 29 every single game, which is fun. Power play needs to, again, it's slowly crawling back up. I believe there was a power play goal last night, but I might be wrong about that. Oh no, there was. It was Dmitry Voronkov from that stupid pass from Ken Johnson, who again, Ken friggin' Johnson, y'all. 8 points in 6 games so far this season. Again, 2 assists last night. What a rock star. But again, power play, successful. Penalty kill could have been better, but also could have been worse. The Carolina Hurricanes have about a 25% power play efficiency. So it makes sense that they scored on, I think they went 1 for 4 last night to tie the game at 3. Or potentially, I think they maybe, to tie the game at 3. And then they scored not long after that to make it 3-4, and then blah, 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 blah. But the Blue Jackets are getting stuff done at even strength for the most part. Like, their power play is middle of the pack. Their penalty kill is middle of the pack. But they are, again, scoring a butt ton of goals. They are up to 69 goals on the season, which is nice. They've allowed 72 goals, so like their goal differential is still in the negative right now. But when you consider, like, again, the beginning of October, they lost like 7-2, they lost 7-3, they lost like 5-1, and they lost 5-2. Like they've done a lot of work to kind of bring that back. So again, if they're hovering at like an even goal differential, like again, this team was so bad last year that I do think it's like skewed my my opinion of how goals and goals against should work. But like, this feels like, again, if they can figure out their special teams, this feels like a playoff team. Of their 9 wins so far, 7 of them are in regulation. They've got 1 overtime win, 1 shootout win, which is their last 2 wins. Like, if they can get back to some regulation wins, and then 9-11 on the season, 9 wins, 11 losses, including those 2 overtime losses near the start of the season. So like, they're scoring about as many goals as the Colorado Avalanche, the Minnesota Wild, Tampa Bay Lightning. They've scored more goals than the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've scored more goals than the New York Rangers. Like, it's fun to watch. Do I think they're a playoff team? Yes. However, the East is real weird this year. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with the New Jersey Devils. They're still, like, they've played 1 billion more games than anyone else except for Pittsburgh. They're at 23 games on the season. The Blue Jackets have only played 20. Like, the Rangers have only played 19. So the New Jersey Devils are going to be an interesting one to watch. They're scoring goals basically at will. If they can figure out, again, like, their goaltending has kind of been up and down. So if they can figure that out, that'll help a long way. But like, again, there's a world in which there are 5 metropolitan teams that make the playoffs. 6 out of the 8 metro teams are above 500, versus the East, where it's mostly just the Toronto is good and everyone else is kind of there. That's unfair. But like, Buffalo is kind of clinging on to being just over 500. Boston is clinging on to just being over 500. Somehow, I don't understand how Boston is doing this. But like, there's a real world where the playoff teams for the East are Toronto, Florida, Tampa from the East, and then New Jersey, Carolina, Washington, New York, one of the Islanders or the Blue Jackets Like, it's a very real possibility that there are 5 playoff teams from the Metro, because the Metro is stupid this year. So I think they can outplay the I think they can outplay the Bruins for a playoff spot. I think they can outplay the Islanders for a playoff spot. We'll make our official, like, decision, I think, probably at Thanksgiving, because, again, like, what is it, 75-80% of playoff teams are decided by American Thanksgiving. So, like, probably about this time next week, we'll look back at the standings again and be like, right, this is a playoff team, or no, this isn't a playoff team. But right now, again, it's November 24th, so, like, don't go and bet the farm on this, but, like, the Blue Jackets feel like a playoff team to me. Maybe that's recency bias. Maybe they're going to go on a massive spiral to finish the month. I don't know. But right now, the way that this team is playing, the way that this team is finding ways to win, like, I'm rapidly approaching reckless optimism, let's say. And part of that is because of one player. Well, it's because of several players that I've kind of talked about on and off throughout this episode. But I wanted to talk specifically in the third segment about Sean Monahan, because this was a signing that I was kind of wary of. I was cautiously optimistic, but also a little bit wary of. So I want to talk about his first 20 games as a Blue Jacket, what he's doing, how he's doing, and what we can expect going forward from Sean Monahan. So let's talk about that in just a second here on Locked on Blue Jackets. First, though, I've got to tell you all about Indeed. We're all driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. They are your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So you can ditch the busy work. You can use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging. You don't have to play email tag or phone tag or anything like that. And Indeed doesn't help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences, so the more you use Indeed, the better it gets for you. So join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast, and listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Welcome back to Locked on Blue Jackets. I want to talk about Sean Monahan, who has been excellent for the Blue Jackets so far this season. I was wary of this signing when it happened. I thought it was probably a year too long and a million too much. But again, I was willing to say, that's just kind of the free agency of it all. But since then, Sean Monahan has been genuinely excellent for this team. He is out shooting, or like when he's on the ice, he is out shooting the other team 329 to 243. That's how many shot attempts are happening when he's on the ice, which is leading the Blue Jacket. And quite frankly, might be near the top of the league as well. In terms of, again, players that have played more than 5 minutes, the only players that are doing better than him, Shane Gostisbehere, William Carrier, who we saw last night with Carolina, Jordan Martinook, Carolina, Sean Walker, Carolina, Sebastiano, Carolina, Matthias Ekholm in Edmonton, Seth Jarvis, Carolina, Evan Bouchard, Edmonton, Connor McDavid, Edmonton, Vasily Podkolzin, Edmonton, Leon Draisaitl, Edmonton, Quinn Hughes, Vancouver, Jordan Stahl, Carolina, wild. Victor Arvidsson in Edmonton, Jackson Blake, Carolina, Jack Roslovic, Carolina. It's basically if you take Carolina and Edmonton out of the mix, you get Sean Monahan at the very, very near the top of the thing. Let's see. for players that have played over 250 minutes, he's sitting at 22nd in the league. And players ahead of him that are not from Carolina are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And 5 of those are Edmonton as well, because Edmonton, I guess, is just kind of an insane possession monster this season. But anyway, my point here is that Sean Monahan has been leading the Blue Jackets in a way that I didn't think he would be this good playing with Johnny Gaudreau on his wing. So the fact that he's doing this kind of not by himself, but like he is outperforming any other, like this is the best he's ever performed. And it's not particularly close. Like the 2017-2018 season with Calgary, he was at 54% shot attempts. He's at 57 right now. And again, small sample size, things will change. But he's been on the ice for 20 goals for 9 against. And I feel like this is probably at 5-on-5. Yeah, this is all at 5-on-5. So we're not even counting like power plays for this. But he's creating almost 18 expected goals for and allowing only 10 expected, 11, give or take, expected goals against. So again, 62% expected goals, like that's near the top of the Blue Jackets. I didn't see this coming at all. I thought he would be fine for the Blue Jackets. I did not think that he would be, again, leading this team in scoring, a point-a-game player, which, again, he hasn't been a point-a-game player in many, many moons. When was his last point-a-game season? I feel like it was like 2018, 2019. The last time he was a point-a-game was 2018, 2019. He had 82 points in 78 games with Calgary. And then I believe after that he got injured. So like he spent the next 4 years trying desperately to like figure it out and get healthy. And then last year he had a bounce back. He had 59 points in 83 games, I think, if I'm doing the math right on the fly. And he looks like a brand new player. Like I didn't watch a ton of him the last couple of seasons. Like I knew that he was good, and then I knew that he was injured. But he looks like a man possessed right now. Again, he's driving this team possession-wise. He's driving this team scoring-wise. Like his numbers are far and above the best on the team. Like if we flip over to a different stat website that I'm using, he's like he's doing all of this as well with like he's playing a lot, but he's not playing like the most ice time in the whole world, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to pull up the stats for time on ice right now. If we take defenseman out of it, he's not even in the top 10 of time on ice per game. He's not in the top 20. Not the top 30 or 40 or even 50. He's averaging. I had it up and then closed it. So a drink if you are a particular Locked On Blue Jackets drinking game. Jay closed the tab before he was done with it. He's averaging 1857 right now. So he's not even in the top 50 forwards in time on ice, and he's still a point-a-game player. He's got the same number of points as Evgeny Malkin. He's got more points than Braden Point. He's got more points than Zach Hyman, who's really struggling this season. More than Elias Pettersson. He's got more than Ryan O'Reilly. Like, if we look at 1Cs on teams, like, he's got more points than Mikael Backlund, who I don't think is a 1C for... I hope he's not a 1C for Calgary. We'll see. More points than David Pastrnak, who's not a center, but, again, going up the list, he's got more points than Nick Suzuki. He's got more points than Dylan Larkin. He's got more points than Bo Horvat. He's got one fewer point than Sidney Crosby, who's playing, again, over 20 minutes a night. Like, if you go up to who's leading the team, Nathan McKinnon is leading all forwards in time on ice at 23-14 because he's a monster. He's got 35 points so far this season, but like if you look at Arturi Lehkonen has 22-36 average, and he's only got 7 points. Kirill Kaprizov, Mikko Rantanen, Nikita Kucherov, Mitch Marner, Vincent Trocheck is averaging over 21 minutes. Like, I'm not going to sit here and continue to read stats because that's boring for everyone, including me. But like, Sean Monahan is doing 1C stuff. He's getting not load managed necessarily, but I think because the team is like the depth scoring is going so well at the minute, and you know, like you got Adam Fantilli as your 2C at the minute, and so like he can carry a lot of the load. Even if he's not scoring, he's doing, you know, a lot of the right things to get on that track. Like Cole Sillinger is doing really well as the 3C. Like, we're not seeing those kind of games that we saw last season. We're kind of seeing it on the defense, which is a whole other conversation. But like, you don't need to play Sean Monahan for 25 minutes a night for him to be effective. He's playing less than 20. I hope he stays at less than 20 on average. And I did not look at this up because it's kind of a pain to find beforehand, and I should have done it beforehand, but I'm not going to do it now. I would love to know like points per 60 for what's happening on all of this, because that's kind of, oh, here we go, scoring per 60. NHL.com has it. They did not used to have it, but like I'm really interested as it's kind of loading is points per 60. If we take away, like, again, if we take away the people that have played like 3 minutes, he's scoring, he's 19th in the league, we take away the top. Alex Ovechkin is scoring at 4.46 points per 60. Insane. Like, unacceptable at his age, quite frankly. But Sean Monahan is, I think, 15th in the entire league in points per 60. So, like, clearly he's doing something right. And it's really, really, it's been really fun to see and really great to see. Because I felt like he came to Columbus to play with his best friend. He doesn't get to do that. He's having this career, like, resurgence. And I think he dealt with a lot of, well, Monahan's not going to be any good this year because he only signed here to play with Gaudreau, and like Gaudreau was going to carry him basically. But we're not seeing that. So in a couple of episodes, actually, we're going to be at the end of November, so we're going to have to pick like player of the month for November, and like it's probably going to be Jack Werenski, let's be honest. But like Sean Monahan is going to need to get some honorable mentions in there somehow, because he has really, really, really impressed me. And if there was anyone on this team that like deserved this kind of comeback and this kind of like, again, career resurgence, I think it is Sean Monahan. So it's been really, really fun to see. And he's loving the game that John loved, as Meredith Gaudreau said at the home opener. So that's kind of all I've got for today. And we'll be back tomorrow. The Blue Jackets don't play until Thursday now, but we'll have some fun next week. I think tomorrow I'm going to do a mailbag. So if you have questions about how the season is going, questions about players, about prospects, whatever, we'll do that tomorrow. We'll do a little Monsters Monday as well, because Gavin Brindley made his AHL debut this weekend and did pretty okay, if you ask me. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. And yeah, if you have questions, please send them in. You can leave them in the YouTube comments. You can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. I'll throw something up on Twitter and Blue Sky as well, which, by the way, you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOB, FORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets. You can find me over on Blue Sky at just JAKOB, FORSTER without the underscore. And you can email me at lockedonbluejackets@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets continues to be free and available on all podcast platforms, over on YouTube. And I appreciate you guys coming to hang out. Hopefully you enjoyed this special bonus Sunday episode of Locked On Blue Jackets. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.